Warning, this is a review of the My Little Pony episode Filli Vanilli for the new 26. No audio, video, clips from the show, music from the show, or any music or shows being referenced here are being used because they belong to their respective copyright holders, mainly Hasbro Studios, DHX Media, and of course VH1, Viacom, and others. Rate, favorite, like, subscribe. Welcome back to the new 26. I know. The one for simple ways is also coming today. Yes, I'm doing a double decker. But first, we must get to this week's episode Filli Vanilli. But in order to talk about the episode properly and make the proper reference, a little bit of music history is needed. Back in the 80s and early 90s, there was a duo known by the name of Milli Vanilli. First names Rob and Fav. They looked great, considering they came from a place of utter poverty to try to make it in the music business. But here's the thing. Milli Vanilli, as the group was named, couldn't actually sing. But the record company saw a gold mine in how good they looked for the early age of music video. So, the record company hired a group of studio singers to actually sing the songs and record them, while Rob and Fab would inevitably lip sync the songs for the videos. Milli Vanilli is known for mainly two songs. Girl, You Know It's True, their smash number one hit, and Blame It on the Rain, another smash single. But eventually, just after winning the Best New Artist Grammy that year, Milli Vanilli's dark secret was exposed. The Grammy was stripped, and essentially the duo parted ways, but not before recording one more album in which it was them singing. The album commercially bombed. Their story is one of the most famous and infamous stories from the early seasons of VH1's Behind the Music. Why is this why is this little history lesson needed in the first 2 minutes? Well, that's pretty much the setup and gimmick given to this week's episode of Friendship is Magic, Filli Vanilli. That is Fluttershy playing the role of substitute for a group known as the Ponytones after almost getting caught, not necessarily singing in the shower, but something like it to her animal friends with her dulcet tones. Of course, Rarity wants her to join the Ponytones, in which she's the leader. Strange. As the fifth member because of it. But Fluttershy naturally has another fear to overcome. Stage fright. A fear that is understood by most of the Harmony 6, sans a rather weird and rather angrily making Pinkie Pie, who using her fourth wall powers could be called wall trolling in this episode, because that seems to be all she's doing. Now, why are the Ponytones involved? Well, this group is singing for an animal shelter charity event. Sound familiar? Yes, it's another subtle nod to Equestria Girls. Remember when we first saw Fluttershy in that movie? she was handing out flyers to an animal shelter trying to get support. How the movie comes back, gets a sequel, and then decides to haunt us again in the episode immediate. But of course, Fluttershy isn't down for this. She just wants to watch. Understandable. But the next day, when one of the Ponytones members, actually Applejack's brother Big Mac, ends up getting a momentary case of laryngitis, and ends up going to Sakura for help, Fluttershy is once again asked generously by Rarity for a temporary helping hand. She agrees, but with one catch, that she not be seen on stage. This is where the Filli Vanilli reference kicks in. But another problem arises when it is discovered that Big Mac is the bass tone of the quartet. But leave it to continuity to have a solution for this. The return of the poison joke from Bridal Gossip that just so happens that Sakura can mix up a temporary batch of the stuff to bring back Flutter Guy. The way the plan works is that Fluttershy in her bassy voice will do all the singing, while Big Mac is the person on stage lip syncing. Actually, Daniel Ingram and the group use several different audio techniques to disguise Fluttershy's voice to keep on the illusion to the viewer of the lip syncing Big Mac, even though we know the truth about the ruse. Of course, the charity event goes over quite well, almost too well. And Fluttershy reluctantly agrees for more engagements. But then as Big Mac's voice actually recovers back to normal, which, by the way, Big Mac loses his voice in a turkey gobbling competition in which he is the champion 6 years in a row, but ends up losing this year to Pinkie Pie. Well, you know they're keeping up the southern redneck stereotype if they're doing turkey gobbling competitions. Ultimately, Big Mac agrees that Fluttershy have one last performance in the limelight, but when she gets too excited by the moment, the ruse is exposed. But the people of Ponyville are surprisingly happy to find out that it's Fluttershy and cheer and applaud rather than strip Grammys and blacklist like the actual record company did the Filli Vanilli. But, of course, this triggers Fluttershy's stage fright, in which he runs off in fear and sadness, only that the rest of the Harmony 5 pick her back up. Except for Pinkie, who seems to be in ultimate douche mode this episode, seeing that every line of dialogue coming out of Pinkie's trap further supports my viewpoint that I said in my Pinkie Pride New 26. Unless she's the center of attention, don't have her in an episode. It comes out just terrible. And this is Pinkie Pie at her most blunt worst. But I will admit, when Applejack turns a similar table to Big Mac and seems to know every event in chronological order, that is funny and hilarious. Why? Because you would expect Applejack to know that the ruse is on Miss Honesty. But but ultimately, Fluttershy does agree to join the group ultimately, but only on a temporary basis, seeing that she's still not over her stage fright. The moral is a very simple one of facing your fears and not being afraid of any kind of talent that you may have or may have discovered and be happy about the cheers and applause that comes from a talent well executed. Although the episode is a rather simple and by the numbers premise, the many clever ways that the writers disguise Fluttershy while the ruse is on, combined with the audio cues, makes the gimmick absolutely work. And the two songs that are introduced here are rather catchy, especially the end of the episode reprise. Using a pop culture reference to drive an episode's gimmick can be a hit or miss thing. But for Filli Vanilli, it absolutely succeeds. Although many people viewing this video and many people watching the episode won't get the reference. But for those that are old enough to understand the reference, this is a beautiful pop culture nod. Plus, this is the most that Big Mac has been featured on screen and the most lines he's ever spoken. A real coming out party for Applejack's big bro. Plus, seeing Sakura again after Princess Twilight Sparkle with a continuity reference properly used in tow to further the plot and be a proper reference is a beautiful and nice touch. The only thing that drives this episode down is Pinkamena Diane douchebag in her overly blunt honesty. But with the rating scale of 1 to 6, I give Filli Vanilli 4 Girl You Know It's Trues out of a possible 6. This episode is fun, it's engaging, and the pop culture reference is perfectly used. Although some may complain that it's paint by numbers, it's paint by numbers that are beautifully executed. Use of characters again is the highlight of the episode, and another positive point is this episode could have been used for a key, but it's not, which certainly helps things out especially. So, what's up for next week? Well, the Cutie Mark Crusaders and my beloved Twilight. I can't wait. Until next time, my fellow equestrians, find peace in your own nirvana, and thanks for watching.